Hello and welcome to my review of the Elonghi EN680 Nespresso coffee machine. I purchased this coffee machine, I've had it for 2 days, and I just thought I'd do a quick video review of it before I send it back. Not too impressed with the machine, as I will be sending it back. This machine was originally ordered to replace a faulty Nespresso machine that I bought, which was a EN680M. That was another Nespresso machine which, whilst it was a brilliant machine, after 3 weeks it started to burn coffee really badly. I mean, it absolutely reeked every time I made a cup of coffee. But I think I'll be going back to that based on a few reasons that I'll go through in this review. Also, I would like to point out that the main reason I switched over to this machine was because of the milk attachment. It saved a lot of hassle to having to manually froth the milk. Now, there are 3 main reasons that I'm going to be sending this coffee machine back. The first one is these are the cups that I've been using to make my coffee recently. I use the taller cups such as this and this when I want to make a latte, and I use the smaller cups to make cups of coffee. Not really too much of an espresso drinker. So, first problem I have with this machine is after spending almost £300 on a machine, I really don't want to have to go out and spend more money and buy the special Nespresso cups, Nespresso branded cups that fit this machine perfectly. Some of the videos I've seen, this machine actually came with a welcome pack which had Nespresso cups, but the welcome pack with this machine that I received only had a sampler of the different kinds of coffee that you get, along with a little manual, which I will show you now, which is this manual here. It's just a little folder with 2 pages. Not sure I need a folder, can just put that in a brochure, but never mind. Okay, to start off with the problems I have with the cups, is the 2 cups, as I said, most time I drink lattes. 2 cups I used to use are these 2. Neither of these cups can actually fit in this machine. This can fit on the very edge, but once it starts to get full, the cup will slide out. And this is the other cup, which I can force in, but again, it's very unstable and it doesn't sit straight unless you kind of just balance it out, which is a bit ridiculous. In terms of actually making coffee, again, all the coffee mugs I have, just standard coffee mugs from Tesco or from IKEA. With this thing out, they don't fit. With this thing, with the tray in, they still don't fit. This part is too small to accept a normal coffee size cup. So I thought I'd try this. Again, does not fit. The only thing that seems to fit is my partner's Minnie Mouse cup. This seems to fit, but again, the very bottom here is just sliding down, so once it gets full with coffee it usually tips out, and this can't be pushed in or out because this is where the actual water reservoir is. Which brings us to my next problem with this device, and that is, if you take a look at the water reservoir on a EN680 for example, on most coffee machines it's in a water compartment on the back of the machine. However, with this, the water reservoir is this whole entire thing down here. First time I tried to fill this up, I tried to pour water through this hole here, which is the only place you can really put water in, and a little bit of water went around the machine. Your other option is, it's a bit heavy single-handedly, is to carry it over to a sink, pour water in this hole here, which is a lot less convenient, I must say, than other coffee machines I've had where they just use a normal jug on the back. So let's put this back in. I did read how this was very difficult to slide in and out. I don't think it is at all. However, the one problem I do have is if you look down here, it doesn't sit very flush and it feels very loose, like it might tip over at any moment. The warming plate at the top, it's a nice added feature, but I mean, when the machine goes into standby, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but when the machine goes into standby, the warming plate just doesn't work, and when you turn it on, you hardly want to stand around in the morning for 20 minutes for the warming plate to warm your cup up for just a tiny bit, and it's hardly warm at all. So That is, the water compartment is another issue that I have with it, but the main issue I have with this thing is this. If you take a normal cup and you try to make a normal cup of coffee, I'm going to have to hold this in sideways, as of course it doesn't fit, and you try to make a cup of coffee, now I haven't put a capsule in there because I just want to give you an example of what the other problem is. Another thing as well is this seems that there's nowhere for the water to go here apart from on this, which if you're making 2 or 3 drinks in a row it's going to overflow unless after you make a drink you quickly pull this out, because this does tend to drip a lot and then that way it'll drip in there. Again, the 6180M didn't have this problem because there was a very good drip tray underneath which caught it. My other problem is this has been here for about 10-15 seconds now. This is not warm at all. I can literally put my finger at the end of this cup and feel like it's lukewarm at best. I had read on Amazon how in a lot of the reviews how people were having a lot of problems with it. It just wasn't getting coffee hot enough. As you can see, the machine is still dripping, which is why it's important to pull this out right away. Back to my point. As I said, I had read on Amazon a lot that it just doesn't get things hot enough, and it really does not, because if I ordered a cup of coffee at a restaurant or at a coffee shop and it came at the temperature this makes coffee in, I would send it right back. There is one way around this, however, and that is to run the coffee machine through a couple of cups of empty water before you go ahead and make your cup. But on a £300 machine, you shouldn't really have to do that, especially considering on my father's, I believe it's called a Pixie Nespresso machine, it makes a cup of coffee just as good, costs 1/3 of the price of this, just £120, while this is almost 300, and you don't need to go through having to run water through the machine 2 or 3 times, which I thought was a bit ridiculous. And I'm not sure if you can see, but it is still dripping pretty good there, which is why it's important after every cup to pull this out. And even though I've pulled it out, it seems to have gone through the plastic down here somehow. Yeah, this thing gets filled pretty quickly after only 2 or 3 cups, because the machine drips a lot more than the Sits does. Overall, not very impressed with this machine. It's something that's definitely going to be going back.